We were just supposed to be catching the fall colors, nothing more. Me, Jake, and Lila, 3 friends with an old sedan, a trunk full of snacks, and a playlist of our favorite songs. We didn't even check the weather. Why would we? The air was cool, the sky was a pale autumn blue, and the only thing on my mind was laughter and leaf peeping. As the sun sank and turned the trees to molten gold, we took a winding back road. Jake said he knew a shortcut. Some forgotten county road that twisted through the woods like an old scar. At first, it was fine, just dirt and gravel, but then the forest closed in around us, and the last bit of daylight vanished behind the pines. I remember how quiet it got when the engine suddenly stuttered. The music cut out mid-chorus and the car shuddered to a stop. We sat there for a moment, blinking, like we were waiting for the world to restart. Jake tried the key again. Nothing, not even a cough. Lila pulled out her phone, but there was no signal. I laughed nervously. Because what else do you do? But the others didn't join in. The forest around us seemed to lean closer in the dark. "We'll just wait a bit," Jake said. "It'll come back on." But it didn't. That was when we saw him. Standing by the ditch on the right side of the road. A man, barefoot, and wearing clothes so tattered they hung off him like wet leaves. He had no coat, no hat, nothing to guard him against the chill. "Hey!" Jake called out, rolling down the window. "Hey, man, are you okay?" The man didn't move, didn't even blink. His eyes were wide and glassy, like he was looking right through us. And he was so still, unnaturally still, like a mannequin posed in the brush. "Maybe he needs help," Lila whispered. She was always the kindest of us, but even her voice wavered. I leaned forward, squinting. "Do you need a ride? We're stuck here too." No answer, just that same hollow stare. Then, without a sound, he stepped back into the woods and disappeared. Jake muttered something and got out of the car. I'll go see if he's okay. Maybe he knows someone who can help." "Jake, wait," I said, but he was already gone, his flashlight beam bouncing off the trees. Lila clutched my arm. "This doesn't feel right." I tried to smile, but my stomach was coiled tight. We waited, the 2 of us huddled together in the back seat. The forest was so dark it felt like the world had stopped existing past the windows. Then we heard it, the scratching, soft at first, like branches tapping glass, but it got louder, clawing at the car roof. "Jake?" Lila called out. Her voice was small and brittle. No answer. The scratching turned to pounding. Thump, thump, thump. I thought it would cave the roof in. I grabbed the door handle, but I was too scared to open it. Suddenly, everything went silent. I strained my ears, but the forest was dead. Not even an owl. Minutes passed, then hours. At some point, I must have dozed off because I woke to a faint tapping on the window beside me. Dawn was just breaking, the sky a sickly yellow. I turned and saw the man again. Crouched at the window, his face inches from the glass. He was smiling, no, grinning, his teeth black with rot. I screamed and threw the door open, falling into the dirt. Lila scrambled after me, both of us shaking, but the man was gone, like a nightmare fading with the sun. We called for Jake. Our voices echoed back at us, thin and scared. Then I saw his flashlight, lying by the ditch, half buried in mud. I picked it up, but there was no sign of Jake. Just the woods, silent and watching. We ran back to the car, and somehow it started. I don't remember turning the key. Maybe I did, or maybe I didn't. Maybe it wanted us to leave. We drove until we hit a town, and I called the police. They searched the woods for days, but they never found Jake, or the man in the ditch. I wish I could say that was the end, that we moved on, that it was just a bad night and nothing more. But Lila started having nightmares. She says she saw Jake in the woods, standing beside that man, their eyes as hollow as the night. Sometimes she'd wake up screaming that she saw them outside her window, scratching at the glass. She moved away after that, said she couldn't stand to be near the forest anymore. As for me, I stopped driving those back roads. But I still see that man sometimes, in reflections in the shadows between the trees. He's always smiling, like he knows something I don't. Last fall, I tried to go back, just to see. I told myself I was imagining things, that my mind had twisted that night into something it wasn't. But when I turned into that road, my car died again, just like before. And when I looked in the rearview mirror, he was there, standing in the ditch, barefoot and grinning. I didn't wait. I ran. I don't know what he is or what he wants. Maybe he's not even real, just some ghost of guilt or fear that follows me. But every night when the woods go dark, I hear that scratching on the roof, and I remember. If you ever find yourself on that road and your car dies, don't get out. Don't look in the ditch. And if you see him, whatever you do, don't follow.
A few years ago, I took a detour down an old forest road that cut through a stretch of wilderness in the northern part of the state. I'd always loved driving alone, no distractors, just me, the hum of the engine and the scent of pine drifting through the open window. It was evening and foggy, and the fading light turned the world to bronze. The air felt crisp, the trees like sentinels flanking the narrow road. I didn't even realize how deep I'd gone until the trees grew thicker, closing in overhead. My phone had no signal, no surprise out there, but it still made me uneasy. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Suddenly, the engine coughed and died, jerking me forward in my seat. The radio went dead, the dash lights flickered once, then went black. I sat there for a moment, gripping the wheel, listening to the sudden silence. It was so complete, so heavy, that it felt like the world had been snuffed out. I took a deep breath, telling myself it was probably just a dead battery or maybe something with the fuel line. I popped the hood and stepped out. The forest air was cool and smelled of damp earth and moss. Under the hood, everything looked normal. No smoke, no broken belts. I checked the battery connections and gave them a twist. Even though I knew it wouldn't help, there was nothing obviously wrong. That's when I heard it. A whisper. Soft and breathy, like a secret carried on the wind. At first, I thought it was the breeze stirring the leaves, but the air was still. The sound seemed to come from deeper in the forest, somewhere just beyond the reach of my sight. "Hello," I called out, my voice louder than I intended in the hush. No answer, just that soft murmur, almost like laughter, so faint I had to strain to hear it. My skin prickled. I told myself it was just the forest, trees settling, maybe an animal in the underbrush, but the sound kept coming, rising and falling like a chant. I slammed the hood shut and climbed back into the car, locking the doors. My fingers drummed nervously on the steering wheel. The whispers grew louder, closer, as if they were circling the car. My headlights were dead, the dash dark, and in the windows, I could see only the deep black of the forest. Then the whispers changed. They weren't just soft sighs anymore. They were words, though I couldn't make them out, like dozens of voices speaking at once, just beyond understanding. I pressed my hands over my ears, but it didn't help. The sound was inside the car, inside my head. I squeezed my eyes shut, my heart hammering. When I opened them again, the forest seemed to have moved closer. The trees pressed against the windows, branches scraping the glass like fingernails. The car felt smaller somehow, the air thick and hard to breathe. A shape flickered in the corner of my eye, something pale slipping between the trees. I turned my head, but there was nothing there. Then I saw another shape on the other side, closer this time. It was gone before I could focus on it, but the whispers grew louder. My throat was dry. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it, that fear was playing tricks on my mind, but the shapes kept moving closer and closer, flickering like candle flames in the dark. Each time they vanished, the forest seemed to lean in around me, as if it was listening too. The whispers turned to low moans, then to harsh, rasping voices. I pressed back in my seat, clutching the wheel like it could anchor me. My breath fogged the window, and in that faint reflection, I saw them. Faces, pale and hollow-eyed, staring back at me from the dark. Their mouths moved, but no sound came out, just that endless whisper. I shut my eyes tight, tears slipping down my cheeks. I prayed, something I hadn't done in years. I prayed for it to stop, for dawn to come, for anything to break the suffocating darkness. Then the whispers turned to screams. It was sudden, a shriek of agony that seemed to come from everywhere at once. My hands flew to my ears, but it was inside me, vibrating in my bones. The faces pressed against the glass, mouths open in silent wails. My vision blurred, and for a moment I thought the glass would shatter from the sound. I don't know how long it lasted, maybe minutes, maybe hours. I kept my eyes shut, rocking back and forth in the seat, whispering to myself that it wasn't real, that it couldn't be real. Then as suddenly as it began, it stopped. The silence was absolute. I lowered my hands, my ears ringing. The windows were clear again, no faces, no shapes, just the forest bathed in the first gray light of dawn. The car felt normal, the air inside cool and still. I turned the key in the ignition, half expecting nothing, but the engine roared to life, steady and strong, as if nothing had happened. My hands shook as I shifted into gear, the tires crunching over the gravel as I pulled back onto the road. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to see what might be standing there, watching me go. I've avoided that road ever since. It's not even marked on most maps, and people say it's been closed for years, but I know it's there, winding through the forest like a scar. Sometimes late at night, I still hear those whispers. When the world is quiet and I'm alone in my room, they come back, soft at first, then insistent, like they're waiting for me to listen. I try to tell myself it was just a hallucination, that I was tired and scared and my mind filled in the gaps. But in the darkest hours, I remember the faces pressed against the glass. The way the forest seemed to breathe around me. I remember the feeling that something was in there with me, something old and patient, and it knew my name. So if you ever find yourself driving down an old forest road and your car dies for no reason, don't get out. Don't call for help. Just sit still, close your eyes, and wait for dawn. And whatever you do, don't listen to the whispers.
We'd just finished finals, exhausted but buzzing with relief, and decided to take a late-night road trip to blow off steam. There was me, my best friend Eric, and our buddy Dean, crammed into Dean's beat-up sedan with snacks and enough energy drinks to keep us going till dawn. We were unstoppable, or so we thought. The highway was a long, black ribbon that night, stretching out beneath a sky that was starless and heavy. Our laughter echoed inside the car, our music a pounding beat that drowned out the darkness outside. We didn't see her at first, just a pale flicker on the shoulder like moonlight caught in the trees, but as we drew closer, her shape solidified. A young woman in a white dress standing by the roadside, thumb raised. Her hair hung in long, tangled strands that moved in the faint breeze. And she was smiling, this eerie, unwavering smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Dude, are we really stopping?" Dean asked as I eased off the gas. Eric laughed nervously. "We can't just leave her there. It's freezing out." I should have kept driving. Everything in me said to keep going, but I slowed down anyway, rolling to a stop beside her. She stepped forward, her bare feet pale against the cracked asphalt. "Hey, need a ride?" I asked, my voice sounding too loud in the sudden hush. She didn't speak, just nodded and opened the back door, slipping inside with us without a sound. Up close, her smile was even more unsettling. It was stretched too wide, her lips pale and cracked, but I didn't say anything. None of us did. We just pulled back onto the road, the car's headlights slicing through the dark. Eric twisted around in his seat to look at her. "So, where are you headed?" She didn't answer. She didn't even blink. Instead, she raised one hand and pointed straight ahead, down the endless road. Her nails were dirty, jagged, like she'd been clawing at something. Dean laughed, but it sounded forced. Okay, guess we're all going the same way." The car's engine rumbled low as we drove. I tried to shake the feeling crawling up my spine, telling myself she was just a girl who needed a lift. But the longer she sat there, the more the air seemed to thicken, like the car was shrinking, suffocating. A few miles down, the dashboard lights began to flicker. The radio cut in and out, static crackling through the speakers. "Great," Eric murmured. "The thing's going to die on us." I kept my eyes on the road, gripping the wheel tighter. In the rearview mirror, I saw her reflection, her head tilted, her face and smile fixed and unblinking. I swallowed hard, trying to focus on the white lines ahead. Then the headlights started to dim, winking like dying fireflies. The engine coughed, sputtered, and with a final shuddering sigh went silent. We rolled to a stop in the middle of nowhere, the darkness pressing in on all sides. "Shit," Dean said, pounding the dashboard. "What the hell?" Eric twisted in his seat. "Hey, are you okay back there?" But she was gone. The back seat was empty, no door had opened, no sound had marked her leaving. One second she'd been there, silent, smiling, and the next she wasn't. Eric's face went pale. Where did she go? Did she just vanish? We scrambled out of the car, our breath clouding in the cold night air. The road was deserted, stretching on in either direction. Nothing but black trees and the occasional whisper of wind. We called out for her, our voices ragged, but there was no answer, no rustle in the bush, no flash of white in the dark. Dean's flashlight flickered as he scanned the woods. This is fucked up, man. She can't just disappear. But she had. After an hour of searching, we gave up. The car wouldn't start. No matter how many times we turned the key, it just groaned and fell silent. We ended up sleeping in the car, huddling together for warmth. The windows fogged up from our breath. None of us said a word. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile. Frozen, inhuman. I must have drifted off eventually. When I woke up, dawn was breaking in streaks of pale gray. The forest around us still and silent. I rubbed my eyes trying to shake the heaviness in my chest. That's when I saw it. A piece of paper, yellowed and damp, tucked under the wiper blade. I climbed out, my hands shaking as I unfolded it. Scrawled in looping letters were the words, "Thanks for the ride." I don't know how long I stood there, reading it over and over. My mind felt cracked, like something had seeped in during the night, filling me with a cold I couldn't shake. Eric leaned over my shoulder, his face pale. What the hell does that mean? Dean just stared at the trees. I don't care. Let's get the heck out of here. The car started on the first turn of the key. No coughing, no flickering, like it had never died at all. We didn't say a word as we drove back to the main road, the forest falling away behind us. It felt like leaving a dream or a nightmare. We never told anyone else about that night. We didn't even talk about it among ourselves. We just let it sink into the spaces between us like a secret scar. But I couldn't forget. I'd see her sometimes in the corner of my eye on empty roads or in the reflection of a store window late at night. Always that same smile, those cracked lips and hollow eyes. And every time I'd hear a faint voice in the back of my mind, "Thanks for the ride." Dean moved away after graduation and Eric stopped hanging out. We didn't have a falling out. There was just this unspoken understanding that we were different now. Marked. Last winter, I drove that same stretch of highway alone, trying to prove to myself that it was just a trick of the dark, a shared hallucination. But as I rounded a bend, my headlights swept over a figure standing by the roadside. She was there, just like before, white dress, tangled hair, and that smile. My hands clenched the wheel so tight my knuckles went white. She raised her hand, thumb out, and my foot slammed the gas without thinking. I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I don't know who she is, if she's real, or she's some echo of a memory that won't die, but I know this. If you're ever driving that highway and you see a girl in white smiling in the dark, keep driving. Don't stop, no matter how much you want to help, because if you let her in, she'll never actually leave.